Hey, what is crappening? Last week I was scrolling through my X feed and I stumbled across a short clip of serial killer Aileen Wuornos from a death row interview that happened just before her execution. I was familiar with her status as kind of a unicorn of the true crime community. Not only was she a female serial killer, but one that actually had been put to death. There's very few of those. But I didn't know the details. Following my morbid curiosity, I dug deeper. I found in 2003, about a year after Wuornos was put to death, Hollywood produced the award-winning biographical drama Monster, and Netflix recently put out a documentary of her story called Aileen, Queen of the Serial Killers. After watching both of the trailers, my post-2020 sixth sense kicked in. I got the feeling that Aileen's story was heavily politicized. I know we see politics everywhere these days, but in true crime? Again, my curiosity got the best of me, and I watched both films in full. And what I found was just as disturbing as the murders themselves. Thanks for stopping by NPC Overrider, where we challenge mainstream source code to develop independent thought, one user story at a time. Today we're playing some Mario Kart 64, so grab yourself some banana peels and let's check out the latest programming. Okay, first let's talk about Monster. Like I said, came out in 2003. First of all, if you've seen pictures of Aileen, you might be surprised to learn that Charlize Theron played her in the film. But Hollywood makeup artists sure can work wonders, and Theron's acting chops sure sold the part, which earned her a 2004 Academy Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role. The same can be said for Christina Ricci, who plays Aileen's lesbian lover. Again, the on-set hairstylist nailed the white trash 1980s haircut, but Ricci was much easier to look at than the person she portrayed. But let me back up and give you a brief overview of Wuornos' backstory for those who may be unfamiliar. Aileen Carol Wuornos was an American serial killer who murdered 7 men in Florida between late 1989 and 1990. A drifter and a prostitute, she shot her victims, mostly middle-aged male clients she met while hitchhiking. She claimed self-defense, alleging the men raped or attempted to rape her. Wuornos was arrested in 1991 after her partner Taria Moore cooperated with police. Convicted in multiple trials, she received death sentences for 6 murders and was executed by lethal injection in 2002 after dropping all appeals. Okay, now that you know the quick and dirty, which was one of Aileen's specialties, by the way, let's look at Hollywood twisted this story to push their politics. Firstly, the Monster creators fabricated much of the story, including people and events. The writers took extreme creative liberties, framing Aileen as a victim of systemic oppression doled out by conservatives, especially men, traditionalism, and society in general. On the other hand, producers portrayed the victims as violent perpetrators that had it coming one way or another. Por ejemplo, film writers recreated Aileen's real-life girlfriend, Taria Moore, as Selby Wall, played by Christina Ricci, depicted as a young closeted lesbian temporarily living with conservative, homophobic, racist Christian family friends. In reality, Taria Moore was openly gay, living with Aileen for about 4 years. Selby and her surrounding circumstances were completely made up to both avoid lawsuits from Moore and push a leftist agenda. Aileen's first victim in the film, Vincent Corey, is also a figment of Hollywood's imagination. In reality, her first victim was Richard Mallory, who Wuornos claimed raped and tortured her by pouring rubbing alcohol on her wounds and other creative places. While Mallory had a sexual assault conviction as a minor in 1957, which supported rape claims, Wuornos changed her story several times and admitted while on death row that Mallory did not rape her, and she made the whole thing up to gain support. Yet the rape and torture were included in the film anyway, rubbing alcohol and all. Family of the victims be damned. Other victims are portrayed similarly, with one subtly as a child molester and another as a corrupt, cheating cop. Others were painted with the same brush, such as the cop who demanded he service her in his patrol car to avoid jail, the attorney who was rude to her when she applied for a clerical position, and the restaurant manager who kicked her and her girlfriend out for smoking. Everywhere Aileen went, there was the man to keep her down, but it was all fiction. There are exceptions, such as the generous storage facility manager Thomas, played by Bruce Dern, who offers her food and empathy and goes as far as to compare her struggles to those of Vietnam veterans. Then there was the slow, awkward John, who had apparently never been with a woman before. Aileen spares him out of pity. Again, there's no evidence that either of these people existed. In a late murder scene, Aileen kills a good Samaritan offering a ride. The man begged for his life and mentioned he had her grandchild on the way. Yet, Aileen shot him anyway. I think this scene is designed to show her rage at what society stole from her, family instability, framing the act as a tragic outcome of her circumstances rather than pure malice. Either way, this too was totally made up. Overall, the film limits viewers from siding with those she killed. Even when showing victims' humanity, the dialogue subtly blames Aileen's circumstances and society for her actions. Alright, up next, Aileen, Queen of the Serial Killers. Just came out in 2025 on Netflix. Okay, now that we've covered the Hollywood story, let's see how the globalist documentarians over at Netflix, BBC, and NBC portrayed Aileen 23 years after her execution decades after the aforementioned information was publicly made available. Spoiler alert, poor Aileen is just another victim of the patriarchy. But instead of creating and fabricating characters, this one crafts interviews, courtroom footage, and death row chats, often depicting Aileen as someone who was just dealt a bad hand. Even likable at times. During the trial, she claims self-defense, yet mentions nothing of rape or torture when first talking to the police. Just one example of her stories flip-flopping like a politician. Again, her first victim, Richard Mallory, indeed had a sexual assault conviction as a minor, but that doesn't explain the other 6 victims. Later, Aileen admits it was all a lie for sympathy and support, and figured she was going to get caught anyway, so she thought she would do the world a favor and take out a few creeps and rapists. Additionally, Aileen claimed one victim attacked her with a lead pipe and another was a drug smuggler, which was total bull butter. I mean, drug smugglers don't need to meet with $10 hookers. I mean, I get that people looking for prostitutes might not have the best of standards, but come on. In fact, it baffles me that anybody paid for this. Again, Aileen diverts blame, saying she isn't really a serial killer at heart, but society turned her into one. Still, she can't even genuinely apologize to the families, saying things like, "I'm sorry you lost a family member," or "I'm sorry they got killed," never taking direct personal responsibility. In 2001, Aileen finally admitted,
"I robbed him and I killed him as cold as ice. And I'd do it again too, and I know I'd kill another person because I've hated humans for a long time. No sense in keeping me alive because I just would absolutely kill again. I've got too much anger, too much hatred in me."
Republican State Prosecutor John Tanner supposedly went extra hard on Wuornos because all framed as Christian misogyny oppressing women and society in general. Wuornos' supporters claim that the trial was further made unfair as the jury was comprised of all Christians, serving the prosecutor's bidding. But there was no evidence suggesting this was true. Yet jurors cried during the sentencing, not likely tears of sympathy, but because they had to make the difficult decision to uphold social order. Towards the end, Aileen really drives her insanity home. She complains of the prison using sonic pressure on her head since 1997 and claims cops knew she was killing men all along but allowed her to continue to help clean up the streets. She even goes as far as to say that she knew what Jesus went through. Aileen denied her last meal, opting for a cup of coffee instead, her final words leaving spectators bewildered. "I'd just like to say that I'm sailing with the rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day, with Jesus, June 6th. Like the movie, big mothership and all. I'll be back," whatever that means. Producers put the perfect bow on Aileen's story right before the credits rolled with a sexual abuse hotline plug, a stamp of approval that Aileen was the true victim here. In the end, Aileen Wuornos wasn't a product of a patriarchal, oppressive Christian society as Monster and the Netflix doc would have us believe. She was a product of social decay, the breakup of the nuclear family, loss of traditionalism, in a world where kids are left to raise themselves. Let's dig into more of what these films gloss over or ignore entirely. Aileen was born in 1956 to a teenage mom who left her when she was 4, leaving her and her brother with her grandparents. Her dad was a convicted child molester whom she never met, and he hung himself in prison. Off to a great start. Her grandpa was an alcoholic and abusive, sexually some say. By 11, Aileen was swapping sex for cigarettes, and she got pregnant at 14, some say by her brother.
Oh, Billy.
After being kicked out of the house, Aileen hit the road that she would come to know so well. Aileen's life was not a result of social oppression from rigid conservative social norms. In fact, the opposite is true. Aileen's shortcomings resulted from the breakdown of the one thing that could have saved her: a stable home, loving parents who taught her right from wrong, and a sense of community. It's no certainty, we all make choices, but chances are having a dad who provided, a mom who stuck around, church on Sundays, so on and so forth, would have put Aileen Wuornos on a completely different path. But no. Our leftist society abandoned that blueprint like Aileen's mother abandoned her daughter. For years, we've seen single moms everywhere. Dads are optional, and values are replaced by whatever makes you feel good. Films like this make great propaganda, given that true crime is statistically watched mostly by women. Producers know that viewers will nod along and whisper to themselves, "Look what society did to her." And they're right. Society screwed Aileen, but not for the reasons they'd have us believe. Neither Hollywood nor the legacy media sees Aileen at fault. The monsters in their eyes? Christianity, family, and love. All the things that Aileen desperately needed to live a normal life. Well, that's going to do it for this version of NPC Overrider. I'm your lead engineer, Greg. All references are available through the release notes, or they will be shortly. If you want to help me save the NPCs, please set the like button to true and open up a ticket in the comments section if you have an idea for a future release. For now, we're going to shut down and grab ourselves a beer. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.